Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, a special episode brought to you by BUSR. I have the great Jake Asman joining us today to break down the NCAA tournament. We finally have all of our brackets. Jake, welcome to Fanatic Perspective. Thank you for joining us this morning, man.
Steven, excited to be here, man. What a week to be a sports fan. And of course, you could argue the best 2 days of the year if you're a sports fan is that Thursday and Friday of the first round of the NCAA tournament. So I can't wait.
It is going to be unbelievable. Guys, we're going to go through the brackets and actually pick on BUSR. So Jake and I are both sponsored by BUSR. And if you guys want to follow, I actually recommend you follow Jake. I actually appeared on his channel last week. We talked a lot of NFL free agency and quite frankly had the opportunity to be on the cusp of some breaking news as Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos, as Aaron Rodgers was extended by the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, yesterday, Tom Brady decided to return to the NFL. So a lot of breaking NFL offseason news. Jake is on top of it big time over there on his channel. Huge New York Jets fan, just like us here at Fanatic Perspective. He brings you that enthusiastic fan passion with his teams, but he's on there breaking news, doing lives, engaging with the fans. There's a reason. Only BSR only sponsors the best. So, the BSR family here, go check out Jake's channel over there, the Jake Asman Show, on all social media platforms, especially on YouTube, and subscribe. Now, as we jump into this, I'm going to kind of go through a couple different contests that are going on right now. So on BOSR, I'm going to share my screen here because I want to make sure we're crystal clear with some of the promotions and the opportunities that you guys have, because some pretty cool stuff going on, right? And I want to make sure we are crystal clear with everything. So first and foremost, we have the bracket contest. So we're going to actually be going through the bracket contest today. You'll see the $10,000 bracket contest. This means it's very simple. Per bracket, it's a $10 minimum entry or $10 to enter a bracket. You can enter, I think, up to 50 different brackets if you want to. And there will be slotting in terms of money from first place, second place, third place. You can kind of go through on there if you want to. Big thing you're going to need to do to sign up, busr.com/fanatic. busr.com/fanatic. Go on there and sign up. If you want to take advantage of some promo codes to get some free play dollars, you can leverage your free play dollars to sign up and hit your bracket. But Jake and I are going to go through each region and just talk through some games, focus on some Texas teams, and see kind of how our potential final shakes out here as we're all diving into the bracket. The other thing is the promos that we've been pushing, the bet $1 for the $10,000 contest. That's also live on any March Madness game. So if you don't want to do a bracket, you just want to more so focus on betting individual games, spreads, traditional betting, the $10,000 contest is live. Bet $1. You have an opportunity. Special winner, I believe, will be announced March 26th on the $10,000 winner. This is, if you're an active BSR player, you're eligible for all of these. If you want to participate, sign up on busr.com/fanatic to take advantage today. Now, Jake, before I get into the brackets, any thoughts as this thing kind of shakes out with the NCAA, or did anything catch your eyes? I bring up the brackets for us to jump into.
Yeah, speaking of Texas schools, Steven, I thought Texas A&M got screwed. I thought they deserved an opportunity to be in the tournament. They had a great run in the SEC tournament, ended up winning 7 straight games before being beat in the championship round yesterday. So I just felt like the Aggies, I know, no love lost between you and the Aggies, Steven, but I really feel like Texas A&M had has legitimate beef for not making the NCAA tournament.
They do have legitimate beef. I think it's funny that Notre Dame gets into the, one of those first 4 play-in games, and it's kind of reminiscent of the college football playoff where they got left outside in favor of Notre Dame. So There's definitely some beef there. Some people think it could be potentially political against the Texas A&M Aggies. All of you conspiracy theorists out there that sent me messages about that yesterday, but definitely the talk of the town, especially considering some of the other Texas schools that are going to be battling out that we'll see in this tournament. Texas A&M obviously had a great run, as Jake said, in the SEC tournament, but just their best wasn't good enough. That's all I'm going to say there. All right, so let's get the bracket up and dive in. I can't wait, Jake, because it's going to be fun. All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen. We'll start up top. So this is, by the way, so I actually went and bought a bracket myself because, I'm a participant. So you'll see here in the round of 64 and the rules here, $10,000 rules. As I said, contest is up live now. So if you want to fill out your bracket and go through, you'll see kind of the playouts, prize pool, the whole bit. So all the contest and information is in there. And BSR has excellent customer service. So if you ever need help, anything, feel free to chat in there. I'm going to try to zoom this just a smidge more. All right. So we'll actually start with the number one overall seed in just the West bracket, which is Gonzaga. I'll be very candid with you guys. I had Gonzaga winning the national championship before the season even started. I love the addition of Chet Holmgren. I think that top to bottom, they're just due. Mark Few, that is. And I really like what they got going on. So I think this bracket shapes out excellent, in my opinion, for Gonzaga. There's a potential landmine there with UConn. But overall, I think the team we got to look at here is actually Texas Tech, starting with some of our Texas basketball foes. Jake, what's your outlook here as you look through this bracket? Do you think Texas Tech can make a run to where they potentially meet up, defeating, obviously Duke and Michigan State? Some of these teams are over here, but do you think they could actually make a run to the Elite Eight and meet up with Gonzaga?
I do. I like Texas Tech a lot, but I'm with you. I'm just going to tell you, Gonzaga is my pick to win the whole thing as well. I think they're a better team than they were a year ago, and a year ago they obviously went on a run and they were undefeated going into that national title game against Baylor. I mean, bringing Drew Timme back, the fact that Mark Few is due, I think if not now, then when for Zaga, I think they do get it done. I have them playing Texas Tech in the Elite Eight. I don't think Duke is as good as maybe some people feel they are. There's a lot of pressure on them, being it being, of course, that it's Coach K's final season there. So I have Texas Tech taking down Duke in the regional, in the Sweet 16, and then Gonzaga against Texas Tech in the regional final.
All right. The Texas Tech fans are going to come on and say their piece because I called you guys frauds before the Big 12 tournament. And the reason I did that is because of your record away from Lubbock. You guys, y'all earned your respect in the Big 12 tournament. I will be honest with you. And, another close loss to Kansas. I do believe this bracket in particular sets up for a run. I will say this, though, Texas Tech fans, and I'm not trying to pick on you guys. Please listen. Montana State is a very dangerous 14 seed. Assuming you get by Montana State, I think you can get. I think the path is clear to get to the Elite Eight. I really do. But the Montana State game is not a slouch. For those of you participating in the Bet $1 get $10,000 contest, I believe right now the spread on the Texas Tech Montana State game, as of this recording, I believe is 15.5 for Tech. I think Montana State can cover that. Very good basketball team, very underrated basketball team all season. But that aside, because there's always some this is why we have these March Madness conversations. I think Tech is geared defensively. Duke hasn't seen anybody like that. And you know what? I want to say this about Duke, because the big storyline right now is, it's Coach K's last tournament, last run, blah, blah, blah. I think, Jake, that's actually made Duke a bigger target. I've seen them. You look at the North Carolina game, last game in Cameron Indoor Stadium, North Carolina jumps them. You look at the ACC title game, Virginia Tech jumps them. Everybody's kind of looking for that showcase opportunity to really take out Coach K. I don't think it's the same type of, victory lap or farewell tour that these guys think that it is. And I think it's actually put a lot of pressure on those Duke kids, especially them having a younger basketball team. I think we'll probably see a Texas Tech Gonzaga final. Um, any upsets or anything here in this West bracket where you're like, doesn't pass the smell test, Jake?
Ooh, this is tough. I am cautiously optimistic that Vermont's going to give Arkansas a real game here. I think the Catamounts are an underrated team.
The
They have
Catamounts.
they're good, man. They can really shoot the three. They have the guard play, all your classic, NCAA tournament cliches that you look for this time of year. So there's usually a couple double-digit upsets. I feel like Arkansas, they got off to such a great start with the Must Bus this year. Then they kind of struggled. They played better down the stretch. I think they're susceptible for a early first round upset here. So I'm on the lookout for that.
I think I'm actually going to pick Vermont in this game. Bunch of seniors, like you said,
Wow.
they check every box. 5 out, they shoot it. Arkansas doesn't shoot the ball great. I'm always wary of teams that don't shoot the ball well and rely. Yes, very, and typically Eric Musselman teams can put it up with the best of them. This is a tough matchup for them because I don't think they'll be able to turn over Vermont enough. And you got to pick upset somewhere. You got to pick upset somewhere. I'm reluctant to fill out my bracket all the way through though because I always like to wait to the last minute and kind of pick and choose and all these type of things. But just looking at the breakdown of this, I think is very, very interesting. UConn actually, if you're looking at anybody in this region that could give Gonzaga some fits, UConn could be a potential threat there. Somebody to pay attention to that could match up size-wise and have some of the athleticism to deal with Gonzaga. But I think we have Gonzaga coming out of this region. I want to go down here to the East, where Baylor, another Texas team, another Texas school, is the number 1 overall seed. Baylor team that is obviously the defending national champions and has really rebuilt this roster. So many guys off that championship team that left. And for them to cruise and have the success that they had, disappointing early exit in the Big 12 tournament. But this Baylor team has weathered the storm on injuries. They've weathered the storm on youth. I actually think Scott Drew has done an amazing job, even integrating some of his transfers. I really like this Baylor team to make another run here in this region here, Jake.
Baylor's dangerous. Scott Drew being able to get over the tournament hump and win that national title a year ago. It's amazing how Baylor has been able to replace, 3 starters, all guys that went to the NBA, and here they are once again as a 1 seed in the tournament. Tough region for them, though, right? You look at some of the other teams in this bracket. I think you could argue Kentucky might be the best 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So it could be a tough matchup for them. Matt Painter and Purdue going to be really tough, especially if they get a nice second round matchup with your Longhorns. So this is a fun bracket. This is a fun region. I'm excited to see how it plays out.
All right, so let's talk about my Longhorns. Let's go ahead and get this out the way. Because
you nervous? Upset watch the Hokies?
I mean, anytime you're a 6 seed and you're playing a school that won the ACC tournament, B, they got you in a pick'em. That's a red flag, Jake. It's a red flag.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And now we're talking about a pick'em. Virginia Tech's obviously hot. A lot of people. There's different ways we can manipulate this conversation, right? So, if I'm trying to be super Texas fan, I can say, well, Baylor's number 1 seed in our we got two schools that have number 1 seeds out of the Big 12 in Baylor and Kansas. We believe we came out of we're battle tested coming out of the Big 12 versus Virginia Tech and the ACC. The perception being the ACC is down year. They haven't really played a team like us defensively. and the teams that have been better defensively, they've had their struggles with. Uh, Now, if we're living in reality, which is all those things are true, but if we're living in reality, Virginia Tech is red hot. And the run that they've gone on, they've really gotten their act together on the second half of the season. I'm very, very concerned about this game. Now, the other thing I can put in the Texas hat is Chris Beard, I believe, has never lost to a lower ranked seed than him. And I'll just put it this way. He came here talking about March, winning 6 games in March. That was a part of his introductory press conference. That was the pitch he made to the transfer portal guys that came into this program. And that he understands taking this job, the lack of NCAA tournament success the Texas Longhorns have had. We did not win an NCAA tournament game. Undershock is smart. If you want to turn things around, and quite frankly, in my opinion, it's been a disappointing first year, not a disastrous first year or anything like that, but it's been disappointing, all things considered. You fix it in the tournament. This is an opportunity for Texas to beat a very good opponent. Because of the disappointing season we've had, we don't end up with a stronger seed to avoid this type of landmine game where you end up in a pick 'em in a first round. But March, we got to be ready to party. So I think Texas can definitely get the job done, but there's a reason why it's a pick 'em, Jake. I do think in order for, I will say this, and I'll wrap because I know I'm lingering on Texas. I think in order for Texas to go to the Sweet 16, Yale needs to beat Purdue, in my opinion. I don't see Texas beating Virginia Tech and Purdue back to back. I think that's just too tough of an ask. Purdue is so good athletically and offensively, and I think would overwhelm Texas in that matchup. I do think if Yale were to get an upset, Texas wins their matchup, Texas can be in the Sweet 16. That's just my personal outlook on the matter. Anything you want to add to that, Jake? Because you're an outsider looking in. I mean, do you feel more optimistic about my Longhorns? Am I too down on my team? Or, what's your opinion there?
No, I think you're right. I think it's a crapshoot, man. I really do. I mean, I don't think it'd be that big of an upset, and neither does Vegas, obviously, if, Virginia Tech goes out there and wins in the first round. That's a tough draw. I mean, Virginia Tech is a lot better than your typical 11 seed. I don't know how many 11 seeds have, recent wins over Duke, like what Virginia Tech just did the other night in Brooklyn in the ACC tournament. So it's a tough matchup. I mean, if you do face Purdue in the second round, that's also a really tough matchup. So you're going to be rooting for the Yale Bulldogs as a 14th seed to pull off that upset.
And on the other side here, going up, right? As we start talking on Elite Eight, UCLA is very dangerous here in the 4. They've been up, they've been injured. We know they had that magical run as the 11th seed last year. I think they were actually in a first 4 game, if I'm not mistaken, and went all the way to the Final Four before Mr. Suggs on Gonzaga made that miraculous shot. But these teams here, you got Shaka Smart and Marquette, North Carolina. I still like Baylor getting out of this until the UCLA game. And then I do like Purdue. I actually like Purdue more than most. Who do you have out of this East region ultimately, Jake, or who are you leaning towards?
Man, this is a tough region, but I think I'm going with Kentucky here. I called them the best 2 seed I think that we have out of any of the 2s in this NCAA tournament. I think Kentucky's going to go on a run here. I like them to get by St. Peter's and take down Murray State, and then I have a Kentucky versus Purdue Sweet 16 matchup that I think should be a ton of fun. And I like the Wildcats here to come out of the East. I'm fading Baylor because of how difficult it is to go back to back. So
True.
I'm going with the Wildcats here. I'm putting some faith in John Calipari and company.
John needs another run in the tournament. It's been a while.
Yep.
I feel like that especially since that, you look at the Karl Anthony Towns year where they did come up short, but Anthony Davis where they broke through. I feel like John needs another run. All right, so let's go over to the South. Houston Cougars coming in at 5. I will say this. This Arizona team, very interesting with Coach Lloyd and what he's accomplished coming from Gonzaga. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. A lot of people think I'm too harsh on Chris Beard in year one. Look at what this guy has done for his first full season at Arizona, and the success that the Wildcats have had. This is what good looks like in college basketball in terms of instant success. And so Arizona is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. I believe they're the number 2 ranked team in the AP poll, and a lot of people like them. Now, Houston, Jake, what am I looking at with Kelvin Sampson's ball club here? Because Houston's been knocking at the door with all that experience in the NCAA tournament.
This is a team that if they didn't suffer, an injury to Marcus Sasser, arguably their best player, I think they're a Final Four team. I really do. But now you look at where they're at; they're still very good. They're a 5 seed. They're probably better than a 5 seed. The issue for Houston, the AAC is not very good, so you just don't get a lot of opportunities to really bolster your resume if you're UH. Only 2 teams from the American made the NCAA tournament: Houston, and then of course Memphis. But I have the Cougs going on quite the run here. I think they're going to get by UAB. Then I think you look at their matchup coming up against Illinois. I think they're going to get by Illinois as well. And I think this is a Cougar team that could give Arizona a real game here. I think it's a tough draw for the Cougs, but they're good. And it would not surprise me at all after they went to the Final Four a year ago if they could go on another run to at least the second weekend of the tournament.
We got another Texas school here at TCU. Somebody I've gotten to see over here in Fort Worth. And, a lot of people have asked about TCU and obviously defeating Texas in the Big 12 tournament. I'll just be candid here. They're not going to, if they do get past Seton Hall, which I actually think Seton Hall is probably going to win this game. Neither of these teams are going to beat Arizona. No disrespect. TCU's had a great season under Jamie Dixon. I like what Mike Miles, even Eddie Lampkin, those guys, the trouble they bring, and much respect. They do have some big ass wins on their resume. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but at this time of the year, the way these teams look, I think the team that is probably best suited to give that run is Houston. To Jake's point, they just haven't had, like you said. Now I will say this: shout out to BSR. I don't think I've taken an L when betting Houston. I bet Houston outright against Memphis. I bet Houston 2-3 times all year. They haven't led me astray. So I feel good about Houston whenever, in certain scenarios that I put them in. I also, the other team I wanted to touch on here is Tennessee. I think Tennessee can actually make a run to the Elite 8 in this situation, and I think we could see Tennessee versus Arizona. I really like how Tennessee finished the season, not just the SEC championship game, but how they finished their SEC schedule. Rick Barnes, those kids, they seem to really, really be playing for him. They're playing great defense right now, but they have some diversity in terms of the offensive game and how they've developed over the course of the season. And, really what they did to Texas A&M, who got hot. Jake made the great political case for A&M being in this thing, but Tennessee turned that faucet off. So that's a team right there that I think is in a decent position here. A lot of people, so upsets here, Jake. A lot of people picking Loyola Chicago to take out Ohio State. So this is another one.
Sister Jean. She's ready.
She's ready. She's ready. All right, so let's head down. Last one, the Midwest bracket, and our number 1 seed here is Kansas. Our Texas schools, that is Texas Southern and Texas A&M Corpus. So not the Texas A&M Aggies of College Station. What stands out to you here in this particular Midwest region here, Jake?
Well, Colgate got absolutely screwed. I mean, they're taking on Wisconsin in Milwaukee, so they basically gave Wisconsin a home game, which is unfortunate for all the Colgate fans that are out there. But you look at some of the other matchups here. I'm curious to see what Iowa does here. I think they're an underrated 5 seed coming off a Big Ten championship game win over Purdue. LSU is a 6. They're on upset watch against number 11 Iowa State. Look, LSU finally getting rid of Will Wade. What type of impact does that have on the program?
Mm,
I think a lot of people are going to be all over Iowa State in the first round of this
agree.
NCAA tournament. So there's some interesting matchups here, but I do think Kansas got a pretty good draw. And I think Bill Self is due for another long run. So I have Kansas coming out of this region here and going to the Final Four.
I like Iowa more than everybody else does. I know there's a lot of people picking Richmond. Shout out to the Richmond Spiders. I know there's a lot of people picking Richmond to beat Iowa in the first round. As a matter of fact, I was watching another YouTuber who does strictly college basketball, and he picked Richmond to beat Iowa. I think this Iowa team is better and more diverse offensively than they were with Luka Garza. I love Keegan Murray's game. I like their guard play a little bit better than what I don't think there is one dimensional offensively as they were before. And I picked Iowa yesterday in the Big Ten championship game, and they came through for me. So maybe that's just recency bias from a betting perspective. I really like Iowa uh, in this scenario. Creighton is another team I'm looking at as well, coming out of the Big East. I think the Big East was underrated this year, Jake. And I don't think we've even spent enough time talking about some of these Big East schools. Obviously, Villanova, who is a 2 seed up there in the South bracket. So, very, very interesting to see how this group plays out. Providence, another one of those Big East teams. I totally agree with you about LSU, man. The Will Wade situation, the timing, this could potentially be disaster. Just what's your psyche up for those kids there, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's a lot to ask there. I think the last question I have is Auburn, man. They started the season, blazing, right? First half of the season, I feel like everybody pretty much had them as that number one team. They're still a 2 seed. I don't think this is a terrible draw. Um, you can make the argument Wisconsin with Johnny Davis has one of the best players in college basketball, and one of those guys that could just carry his team on a run. How do you feel about Auburn in this region here, Jake?
Auburn is a very interesting team because they obviously, at one point it looked like the best team in the sport this season. Then they kind of hit their rut. We watched A&M beat them up the other day. It's a pretty good draw for them though. Like there's not many dominant programs that you look at that are in this Midwest region. Like we talked about Kansas. You talked about some teams here in the Big East, Iowa coming out of the Big Ten, but I think Auburn should have a pretty decent path here to get to at least the second weekend of the tournament, probably at least the Sweet 16. And if they got through the region, I don't think there'd be a lot of people that'd be that shocked by that, right, Steven?
No, no. And I actually think this is a comfortable draw for them, all things considered. I do think it ends up being them in Wisconsin. And I know, it seems chalky right now across the board, but I think college basketball this season, I mean, a lot of these teams being up there in the top 10 at one point, there's still some really good basketball teams here. In terms of hitting the panic button, LSU is definitely a person that you got to pay attention to. South Dakota State is also another team as a 13 seed to pay a lot of attention to. I have nothing but respect for Providence and those Big East teams, but South Dakota State is another one who I'm looking at. I'm looking at Creighton. I know a lot of people have pinpointed Richmond. I feel better about Iowa than most. I think Iowa could make it to the Final Four. That's my hot take. I actually think Iowa could win this entire region as a 5. I don't think Kansas is as great as everybody else. I know they won the Big 12. I know it's Bill Self and they keep freaking winning. And this is not hate. I got respect for Kansas, but they worry me down though in the post after David McCormick. And I know Ochai Abaji's a fantastic player. Christian Brown, fantastic player. But Kansas doesn't have as much depth as you think they do. And I think they can be exploited in the post. Question is, who can do that to them? So a lot to pay attention to there. I think off the outset, again, I got to really, really, go down this. Jake and I think we're in agreement, though. We're picking Gonzaga. I don't
Oh
think we
yeah.
see anybody that is taking them out. I think in my world, Jake, I probably, if I had to do this right now, I would have Gonzaga coming out the West, um, taking out Tech in that Elite Eight. I'm actually, I'm, I think I'm still gonna go Baylor here, and I know in the East you're going Kentucky.
Taking Kentucky.
Okay, so you're taking Kentucky at the East. I'm going Baylor. As we go up to the South, I like Arizona. I like
Go,
Arizona.
going with the Wildcats.
So I feel terrible right now because I got 3 1s. You're going Wildcats
I know.
here?
I'm going. I'm actually going to go Villanova.
You're going Nova.
I'm going with
Okay.
Nova. We'll give some love to Jay Wright. He's due for another run.
So you have 2 2s and a 1. And then as we go down to the Midwest bracket, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going Iowa. And this could be a disaster immediately for me. So I'm going to go with the 5 seed in in this Iowa team led by Keegan Murray. Who you got out of the Midwest?
Ooh, Midwest. Here we go. Looking at the options. This is probably the region I'm gonna pick a one here. I'm gonna put Kansas through. I don't love this because I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in Kansas. Bill Self, as great as he is, I feel like this team is overachieved and he's done a really good job this year.
This team is overachieved. Yes.
So I will go with Kansas, but I do not feel good about this pick. I want that on the record.
I think we're going to have a Gonzaga Arizona final. And I think Gonzaga is going to win that national championship for Coach Few. Chet Holmgren being the difference, kind of like that Anthony Davis-ish type guy for them, alongside Drew Timme, Nemhard, all those guys. I think they finally break through and get it done on April 4th. So you guys know what to do. Hit up busr.com/fanatic. We just kind of, gave our initial thoughts. The bracket literally just launched this morning on BUSR in terms of putting in these brackets. Again, $10 to enter per bracket that you put forth. The rules say you can do up to 50, so you can put forth a whole bunch of different combinations and just have fun with it. As fans, this is a fantastic time of the year to take a look at all this stuff and enjoy some college basketball. Jake, thank you so much for doing this with me. I had a blast going through this with you.
Steven, this was awesome, man. It's going to be such a great week, and I'm excited to be part of it. And thanks to BUSR for making it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. You guys go give Jake a follow right now. Those of you in the Houston area, you guys are very familiar with Jake. You're very familiar with Brad Kellner, who's been on this show many times. They do a wonderful job on ESPN Radio as well. There you go. 97.5 Houston, ESPN Houston. Y'all go check them out. Go check out the Jake Asman show. He does phenomenal, phenomenal work. BSR family, we are here. As for my Texas fans, y'all know what it is. Guys, horns always up. We're going to be all right long term. But this is a heck of a run we got on our hands here. We'll be back with more. Thank you, Jake. Thanks, everybody.